Hello, everybody. So welcome to November's tarot reading. So I've always kind of go back and forth with trying to be consistent with tarot readings, but I found that it typically is because I'm not in a space, like a physical space, that allows me to want to do the reading. But now I have a space that allows me to kind of do that for a little while. So here we go. So I'm gonna do a poll for the full of November. Then I'm gonna make another post that's gonna be a weekly poll for November. So each week in November, I'm gonna do a tarot reading. So yeah, let's get started. So I like to always do my readings. If it's for the month, I like to pull or grab my what's it called? My spirit deck, as I like to call it, or your non-tarot deck. So usually these are the decks that they don't have any tarot like images. It's very much so just symbols. So a lot of symbolism, a lot of imagery in that way. So yeah. So I'm going to pull a couple cards from this deck here, and then we'll talk about some themes for the month. Then I'm going to pull from my tarot deck and pull out some, some clarifying messages for the themes. Like I said, I haven't done this in a while. I typically do a lot. I haven't done like readings for people online in a little bit, so it's definitely going to be, I won't say a learning process to get me back in, but it's going to take a little moment. I'm just making sure all my cards are facing the same side. So here we go. So this is themes for November. One more. Alright, so we have from our angel deck, we have 3 cards. We have Share Wisdom, Surrender, Act, Body. So hopefully this focuses and does what it needs to do. That is Share Wisdom. This one is this one is Surrender. And this one is Ask Body. So these are or sometimes the decks are not called angel decks all the time, it's sometimes oracle decks. But that's the deck I just pulled from. The specific name of this deck, because I've known people that like the name of this specific deck is the Threads of Fate. It's those Threads of Fate deck. So we'll talk about Ask Body first. Hopefully this all shows to you guys right here. If not, I'll just hold it up actually. I'll just hold it up. So Ask Body. For me, when I think of this card or when this card is pulled, it's literally asking you to ask your body what is happening. I think this is a pertinent card to pull because, and I will get a little political, but just we'll get into the what's happening just around the world. So in America, in the northern continent, we have our seasons, right? We have our 4 seasons. So summer, spring, winter, fall. We are in fall, but we are going to transition to winter very soon. So this is what this card is referring to. The transition in our seasons also means transition in our bodies, right? When you are going from winter to spring, your body is kind of defrosting. Your body is coming out of hibernation. You're moving more. While fall to winter, your body is supposed to slow down a little bit. It's supposed to start going into that hibernation, taking its time, really checking in. So this card is asking you to check in. This card is asking you to watch what's happening with your body right now. Winter time is also a time that people get sick a lot, right? You know, that's just the time. So when we think about how COVID, flu season, so many different things or respiratory illnesses are running around, you have to ask your body, how is it doing? And this is the best time to do it. We're going into Mercury retrograde and we're going into winter. So with all of that, you have to be on top of your physical health as best as you can. That is, it's not just like, oh, are you sleeping well? How does your face look? Are you starting to break out more? How's your hair? Is your hair falling out? Think about those things and ask yourself how you're doing. This also can be a card to think about, okay, maybe I need to book my doctor's appointment, right? If you have health insurance, if you're able to, try to book a primary care appointment, try to get your blood work done. This is definitely signaling towards health. Surrender. So surrender. We are coming into Mercury retrograde season. I think this is very much into that, but also when we change seasons again, changing from fall to winter, you are slowing down. Animals are going to hibernation. Bears specifically, if you know, go into hibernation. This is basically when you're just trying to store everything up. You're trying to get all your necessary supplies so that you don't have to move around too much in the winter. Now, the surrender part comes in where you are supposed to surrender to the season, surrender to the time period that we are in. So that looks like slowing down now. This looks like not starting a new project, something brand new. It could be picking up something that you haven't finished, and that's okay. But this is not to start something new. This is to make sure that everything that has been happening is all fixed, finished, checked off the boxes, all of that. That's what surrender is making sure that you are not going forward in a time period when it's not supposed to be going forward. You're supposed to be taking your time. For people, this surrender card is probably hard for me specifically because I don't know how to just sit still, how to just sit down and enjoy the peace, enjoy what's happening around me. So that's a big part of it too, is can you sit still? Sitting still is surrender. Allowing the periods and allowing the seasons to change as they need to is surrender. So surrendering to the season changes is surrendering, is what it means. Last one, share wisdom. So share wisdom. This is what I'm doing right now. There are a lot of us out here that probably have a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge to share. A perfect example of this is today I was teaching teenagers how to build websites. We finished early, and I was asking the students, what grades are you in? Because I love talking to the teenagers about just life outside of learning. And so I learned that 2 of them are seniors. And then we're talking, and so I was talking to them about like what is life like out of school. So they were asking a lot of questions about like majors in college, funding in college, a lot of that type of stuff. And so I have a lot of knowledge to share with them, and I willingly shared it with them. So this is what this card is asking you. It's asking you, can you share knowledge with somebody else that's going to make them better? It's going to help them move forward in their life. I was sharing with them how to find scholarships, major schools, talking about just like what it felt like being in school. Sharing knowledge helps share things that people are probably not going to be able to find online. People are not going to be able to just get this information. A lot of times people do ask questions because they're just not experiencing what they're experiencing. They're trying to figure out what college is like. If nobody's in your family went to college, it's hard to know what that looks like. So it's a lot of times share what you know. You probably know more than you think you do. Life experience is knowledge. If you learn from that life experience, if you learn from that event, whatever, you have knowledge to share. And we are living in a period of time where we all as a society need to share everything possible. And this is where I get a little political. These other cards right here also relate to what's happening in America. I'm specifically speaking to Americans. The Ask Body card is asking you to check in with your body because we are about to go through a period of time where people are not about to eat, right? This is a period of time to really, if you are able to, you should be at your healthiest capacity. You need to be at your best, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be fighting. They're going to need the energy that we have, right? So this message is definitely for the able-bodied individuals in America. This is not for people that are already fighting for their life, they're struggling. It's not for you. This card of share your wisdom, this is for the people that have resources. So it's not just about the knowledge that I have, right? It's about the resources I have too. If you have money, if you have the wealth, if you have extra, buy, get more for others that don't, right? We are really going through a period of time where we have to fight for us. We have to love and hold each other down. There is no government coming to save us, no one individual. We are the people that save us. So this is something that I really want to hone in on. This message of share wisdom, act, body, and surrender. Surrender in this moment, in this time period, is also surrendering to the fact that we are living in a country that would absolutely rather starve people than not, right? We are living in a country that would absolutely love to snatch children up off the street if they don't look a certain way, if they don't sound a certain way. We're living in a country where we are absolutely willing to let people go be homeless because we don't want to look at how can we make things affordable, how can we raise wages. So a lot of these cards are coming at this time period for a reason. It is what it is, right? We're living in that space where people, us as the people, have to share our wisdom with each other, share our resources with each other, because we are not going to get that from anywhere else but us. So I'm going to pull from the tarot card deck. I'm going to pull from the major arcanas, and then I'm going to pull from minor. So I pull from the major arcana first, kind of why I pull from my oracle deck. I like to get a theme, and then I like to get the deeper message with the minor. Right. Okay. High Priestess and Temperance. So we got the High Priestess. We also have Temperance. So we'll start there. So the High Priestess is definitely giving, which I find to be hilarious. I'm looking at the imagery of it all. So to me, the imagery is very important because this is kind of what it feels like right now. Just looking at the imagery here, it's definitely feeling like everything is falling apart, and we're being told to choose. We're being told to pick a side, to pick what matters to us, to pick our ethics and our morals, to pick what our soul needs. The High Priestess. And I know I get my orders up, but I know this for sure that we have the Fool, then we have the Magician, then we have the High Priestess, Empress, Emperor. Your High Priestess is the card. When this card comes out, it's not necessarily just feminine energy. I don't want to get into that part. This card is a societal energy. So this energy right here is saying that we're about to step into a period of chaotic learning. We're going to step into a period that we are going to grow, but it's going to be through some shit. It's going to be through some chaos. There is no way around it. We have to go through the fire building. We have to be in that space before we can grow, before we can move forward. And so if you look at the imagery, like I said, I think the imagery of this card perfectly explains what's happening. Because if you look at the imagery, the character, the figure is holding a bottle, and then they're holding like a piece of rolled up paper. To me, this is very, very indicative and very symbolic of what we're doing right now. On one hand, we have the government basically holding everything, holding all of our rights, holding it all on a piece of paper. And then on the other hand, you have the people who have just a little bottle. They just have a little bottle for themselves. They don't have a lot. And so we're being, I feel like, pulled at this moment to kind of make a choice of who and how do we want to move as a society. To me, the bottle represents the things that we need. It represents the things that we're trying to fight for, the resources. Versus over here, the rolled up paper to me is symbolizing we're fighting for the fight in, I wouldn't say fight for, but just I would say the politics of it all. That we are in between a space where we're being told to choose resources over our politics, essentially. I think that's the best way to put it. That we're being basically told to make a decision on how do we, what are we gonna care about? Do we care more about politics? And what I mean by that is, do we care so much about, I won't say how a society looks, but essentially, do we care so much about political parties? Do we care so much about that versus do we care about us? Do we care about the things that we actually need? And so right now we're looking at life for what it is. We're looking at it as what it should be. Not should be, but as it is right now. We're looking at the government basically strong-arming our country for things and stuff. Like, they are taking away our resources and making us choose between having some resources or even less. Like, I don't know how to best explain this. This card is very much telling us that we are in a period that we have to make a choice, essentially. Are we going to choose to stand on our political values? And when I say political values, I don't mean your morals and your ethics. Your morals and your ethics are not your political values, right? That's not all that it is, right? So it's basically asking you, are you so gung-ho about being in the politics of it all, in that foolishness, that you're not seeing the realness of it all? The realness of it all is the bottle. The bottle is the stuff that we actually need. This is what we need. This is where we are. That we're fighting to just have stuff, but we're fighting with the powers that be over it. Hopefully that made sense. This card is the energy is coming through very heavy. Then we have Temperance. Temperance is in connection with this, is basically the whole idea that we are just moving problems from problem to problem. We're not solving anything, we're just moving things around, right? And that's kind of what it feels like right now. It just feels like we're moving things around, but nothing is moving forward, nothing is being solved, no issue is being solved. We're just kind of pushing it to the side in a way that we don't have to think about it for a little bit, but it's gonna come back. But this is also the card to me of you're pouring in. What are you pouring into? What type of energy are you trying to give and receive? Are we pouring energy into community? Are we pouring energy into the people that live next door to us, that live in our house, that live on the same block? Are we pouring energy there? Are we pouring energy into calling somebody an anti-Semite? Or are we pouring energy into being racist, being homophobic, being a religious phobic, or whatever? Like, are you pouring energy into people, or are you pouring energy into ideas and things, right? This is that card, and I think this is where I was trying to get to in this one, that these two are asking us, where do we lie? Like really ask yourself, sit down and write down, what are your ethics? What are your morals? What do you stand by? What do you live and die by? Right? I can actively say I believe wholeheartedly in my chest, in my soul, that every single person on this motherfucking planet deserves to eat food. Every single person. That's my belief, that's my ethics, that's my morals. So if you're around me, you being fed. What are yours? Do you believe that? Do you believe that everybody should have shelter, should have safety, should have food? If you don't, think about that. Why are you there? This is what these two cards are asking. What was poured into you that made you believe that somebody does not deserve food or shelter? These cards right here are really asking you to dive deep into who you really are, because we are being told to make some choices, and those choices will absolutely impact your children, will impact your great-grandchildren, all of that. It's going to impact all of them people. I'm going to pull from the Minor Arcana to just have more clarifying message on this. Whew. This message is messaging. Oops. Of course. Yeah, but these messages are messaging language. The swords are out to fight, baby, and that is very, very. That's the period we're living in right now. So we'll start here. 3 of Swords, 4 of Swords, 5 of Swords, 6 of Cups. You know what I also find interesting? It goes 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is going up in numbers. To me, when things come out like that, when it starts to be like 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, when it does something very sequentially, that's a strong indication of how time is moving. So this is a progression of time. So we're going to start with 3, 4. We're going to start with the swords from 3, 4 to 5. Then we're going to end with 6. So sword, 3 of Swords, is betrayal. It's straight up betrayal, heartbreak. It is everything you thought is a lie. Everything you were living in is being turned upside down. Yeah, everything's just being turned upside down. Everything that you thought you knew, everything that you have experienced before is going to be completely thrown to the side. I have experienced this before, and I experienced this mostly when I was going through my first stage of a spiritual awakening. I experienced this card of just everything was a lie. Everything I was told, everything I grew up to believe was not true. I didn't have to live that way. I didn't have to think that way. We are getting into that point as a society. I wholeheartedly feel there's going to be a lot of people in the next couple of months, in the next 2 months, that are going to absolutely have a crisis of faith. This is what this card means. It's going to be a crisis of faith. This leads to these two. These two right here, all this is all the same. The High Priestess, Temperance. High Priestess starts your journey, starts that spiritual awakening journey. Temperance is your check-in time. It's when to be like, yo, what is happening here? This is one of the indicators. This is one of the situations that are happening. A lot of people are going to have a crisis of faith. And a crisis of faith is not a religious faith also. It's a crisis of what you have believed in your life. So meaning you had a crisis in your country, faith in your country, crisis and faith in your family, crisis in a faith of your religion, of anything. This is, a lot of people are going to start to see things for what they truly are, and going to be forced to make a decision on that. They're meaning that, are you going to continuously be lost? Are you going to continuously believing in that fake truth, or are you going to finally move forward? Whew. 4 Swords. Four of Swords I find funny. Four of Swords, I feel like if we're going in the logic, this is the people. So we have people that are starting, that are going through their crisis of faith. Then we have the people that are in the middle of it. They're laying on their bed and they're just like, what the fuck? That's what this card is. It's the what the fuck card. Like, wow, how the fuck did I get here? You know, this is that card. This card is not asking you to do anything other than to just sit with it. Sit with the feelings, sit with the thoughts, sit with it. You need to sit with things. This is the surrender card. Because when you sit with something, you can get a lot more clarity than you trying to actively solve it. You trying to actively do something with it. So, sitting with things is just chef's kiss. You can just move through it, let it move through your body, and it's not going to feel as painful or as uncomfortable. So this card is really just the, what the fuck is happening? Let me just sit here for a second and figure this out. Then we have Five of Swords. Five of Swords I think is perfect for the time period that we are in. We are divided. Like, it's politically divided, religiously divided, socially we're divided as a society. This all comes into, we're divided because of our ethics and our morals on how society should be run and how society should look. Like I said, this is where you have to really start looking at your morals and your ethics. So this card right here, as you go through this journey, as you awaken, and not just spiritually, just awaken as a person, you are going to argue so much more with people in your life. And this card specifically means people in your inner circle, like mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandma, all of that. Inner circle fighting. And it's because you're going to start, when you start going through yourself and start understanding, okay, I don't believe this, I believe this, I believe this, I don't believe this. Once you start going there, you as a natural individual are going to come into contact with people that don't believe that are the opposite of you. And usually the first place is family, the first place is friends, the first place is people in your inner circle. Because when you start to awaken who you are, you have to fully change, meaning everything about your life has to change, everything, all the things. If you are not willing to fully change your life after you have realized a certain thing, you are always going to live in a stuck state. You're going to be stuck a lot. And so when you start to fully change and start integrating these lessons and things that you need to, you are going to face a lot of resistance. It really sucks. It really is annoying, but everybody goes through it. Everybody's going to face resistance because you have to be tested. You have to, the universe or whatever you believe in is testing you to see, are you really going to stand on these things? Are you going to stand 10 toes on this, stand on this hill, die on this hill? Or are you going to kind of go back to your old ways? But this is also a card to, say that people are going to test you. They're going to test your morals and your ethics in a good way. They're going to test, they're going to ask you, why do you believe that way? And you're going to have to sit there and defend your beliefs. And if your beliefs are starting to look shaky and things are starting to look off, are you going to stand on that? It's okay to move away from that. It's okay to not believe in what you always believed in. This is where that crisis of faith is coming in. And it's okay to sit there and be like, yo, I've been lied to this whole time. That's okay. But this card is really asking you to start making those decisions. What decision are you going to make? How do you want to show up in society? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? And just the conflict that comes with it. Just know there's going to be conflict. But with conflict comes no conflict. So this card right here, I think, is a beautiful representation of what happens when you go through those cycles, when you go through your heartbreak, you go through sitting down and just trying to figure it out. Then you go through the part of, well, now I'm out as this person. I want to tell people, I want to share it with people. And then you start realizing that the people closest to you don't believe what you believe in or aren't willing to hear you. Then you're going to find your group. You're going to find your people. And it always happens. As much as we say, oh, it's not going to, you're going to always find your people, but you can only find those people if you know who you are. Those people are not going to come to you if you don't know you. Like, if you are a person that believes that everybody deserves food, every man, woman, and child on this planet deserves food, then the only people that you're going to attract are people that believe in that. So if you don't fully believe in that statement, then you're not going to attract your people. You're going to attract people that believe in what you believe in. And so that's this card right here, is who are you attracting to you? Who are you sharing with? Who are you breaking bread? Who are you giving sips of water to, right? Not everybody deserves your bread, not everybody deserves your sip of water. You need to be mindful of who are you in contact with. Why are you in contact with these people? And if you are, and it's not all about whether they benefit, but are they making you a better person? Are you helping them become better people? So this card right here is a lot of who are you breaking bread with, and why are you breaking bread with that person. But it's also a good omen of when you can get through all of these sword cards, when you get through the hell here, you can have a light at the end of the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel is community, is people that are there for you because they love you, nothing more. So that's the reading. So the big overarching part of this reading is truly we have to start asking ourselves some deep, hard questions. Like, what are your beliefs? What do you really believe in life? Like, do you really believe that some people deserve to starve? Do you really believe that some people don't deserve housing? What are your beliefs here? A lot of it is sitting down, surrendering, not moving through. Don't post anything on social media. Don't do anything. Don't react. Just sit. Share your wisdom. So when you start learning things, when you start awakening, start sharing, start talking about what you've learned, talk about what you've seen, talk about how you feel, what you believe in. This comes into the contact with all of these, is that yes, you're going to go through periods of time where you're absolutely going to be like, I was lied to, people have lied to me, this is crazy, I've lived an entire life of lies. And then you're also going to be in a space where you're going to be like, you know what, yes I did, but that wasn't my fault, and I know better now. So yeah, a lot of this is pretty much like the state of our world right now. Ask your body how it's feeling. Share wisdom also means sharing resources, and surrendering means you really sit down and figure out what is the point of this all, or what is the point in me being here doing what I'm doing. So yeah, hope you have a great month of November as best as you can, because we are going through some shit. But that's the November right now we're looking at. It's not a good or bad. It's a starting point, as I like to call it. For November, to me, it's a starting point of how can we be better people moving forward. But we have to start somewhere, and starting somewhere means acceptance and knowing. Peace.